I'm well aware that it's been a bleak past couple of days on this channel, and it saddens me to say that there is still more negative shit to discuss, but I decided to take a break from all that and talk about something positive for once. There's one game right now that proves it's not all doom and gloom for the gaming industry, and that's Divinity Original Sin 2, which has been universally praised as one of the best RPGs of all time. And guess what? Publisher and developer Larian Games accomplished this without implementing so much as a whiff of microtransactions or loot boxes. This game's got all the makings of an awesome AAA game with none of the distractions and bullshit behind it. I was initially contemplating on doing like a formal review, giving the game a score and all that, but I've lately gravitated away from doing stuff like that. I feel like anytime I make a formal review, I have to play the game in this artificial way to capture the best gameplay footage possible. I have to worry about my hard drive space and all of these things that make me feel like I can't just fuck around. And there's so many great moments that happen when you're not even focused on finishing the game, when you're just exploring out and about, doing whatever the hell you want, doing these stupid menial tasks. It all culminates to something awesome once in a while, and those moments are lost, in my opinion, when you have to review a game. There's also this sense of urgency involved that inclines me to rush through the game to get the review out in time, especially when the game takes 80 to 100 hours to beat. And I don't know about you, but when a game is this amazing, I want to be able to take my sweet ass time with it. So instead of doing a formal review where I detail an 80 hours long experience or whatever, I've decided that I would tell you 2 stories from my time with the game that have already made me realize just how special this game truly is. I've only played the game for like 30 hours so far, having just finished Act 1 and exited I want to say the tutorial island, but it's so expansive in its own right that it'd be a disservice to call it that. Let's call it an intro playground where your story and quest get fleshed out and where you get to get your bearings on the game's mechanics and fine-tune your playstyle before heading off into the meatier portions of the game. Obviously, some of you may have played the game much more extensively and may not be impressed by the stories that I have to share, but to me, these 2 moments are simply unforgettable. But first, a little context. Divinity Original Sin 2 is an isometric RPG that's heavily inspired by the mechanics of the Dungeons & Dragons tabletop RPG, especially where its turn-based combat is concerned. You play as a sorcerer, someone who can channel a magical essence known as Source to cast spells, perform supernatural feats, and enhance your abilities. In the world of Original Sin 2, there is a divine order who have self-proclaimed themselves as the sole proprietors of this power. All other sorcerers outside the order are hunted down like criminals by the order's magisters. Your story begins as you're captured by magisters, shackled by a neck collar that subdues your source powers and transported via ship to a place called Fort Joy, which resides in an island that magisters have repurposed as a prison for sorcerers. Your first goal, escape from the island. But before you can even do that, you have to escape from Fort Joy proper to explore the outskirts of the island. And it was during this task that my first amazing moment happened. There are a number of ways to escape Fort Joy. You can complete certain quests that lead you to secret passages. You can force your way out by fighting the magisters head-on. You can try to make your way through Fort Joy's dungeons. You can sneak your way out if you know the proper routes, so on and so forth. Now, the method I discovered is somewhat unorthodox. There is one side quest that involves me finding teleportation gloves for someone named Gowan so that we can help each other escape. Long story short, I found the gloves, I did as Gowan told me, we teleported each other back and forth to overcome environmental obstacles, and when I finally teleported him to the other side of a cliff, he basically pulled a "so long, suckers," and scrammed. Now, I wasn't having any of that, so I decided to follow him by teleporting my entire party to the other side as well. Normally, you'd have to wait for the teleportation ability to cool down every time you teleport someone, making this an extremely tedious and time-consuming endeavor, but I found that I could forgo cooldowns by passing the glove back and forth to different party members to have them teleport each other. Using this method, I quickly and methodically managed to get the entire party to the other side. This led me to Fort Joy's harbor, and I immediately watched Gowan get obliterated by a bunch of magisters who were were guarding that area. Good, cause fuck that guy. Now, I could have fought the Magisters and forced my escape, but feeling like I was underleveled, I decided to look for another potential way out. Sneaking my way around the Magisters, I eventually found that towards the south, there was this little balcony area, and beyond that, a cliff leading to a bridge that I could lower to escape Fort Joy. Unfortunately, the cliff was out of reach, and looking at it, I soon realized that this was where you'd end up if you entered the fort properly and fought your way through. It was essentially one of the exits for one of the many ways the game allowed you to escape. But I didn't want to go into the fort and potentially fight a bunch of Magisters, so I thought to myself, maybe I can teleport my party directly there from here and circumvent the fort in its entirety. So I tried to position myself as close to the edge of the balcony as possible, but unfortunately, with various objects getting in the way, the cliff was just barely out of reach. Just as I was ready to give up on this idea, I noticed that there is a little spot between this workbench and all these wooden planks that I could teleport to. I couldn't walk there due to the collision engine, but I wondered if by teleporting there, that would get me just close enough to the cliff. It was a desperate long shot, but I gave it a whirl, and when I did, I was shocked and overjoyed to find that the character who was now stuck in this little space had just enough reach to teleport us up there. Just like that, I managed to do the whole back and forth thing with the teleportation gloves to quickly teleport the whole party there. From there, lowering the bridge was a matter of sneaking my way into the fort, avoiding Magisters along the way, using the lever, switch mechanism, whatever you want to call it, and voila! Just like that, through a combination of perseverance, ingenuity, and a bit of luck, I managed to get out of Fort Joy without having to kill or having to deal with a single Magister. It was this bizarre improvised solution to a big problem that I never truly conceived would actually work, since it felt like I was gaming the system in a way that the game wouldn't allow me to. But the game just let me do this. They let me be rewarded for thinking outside the box a little bit, and I felt really proud because the game didn't guide me to do this. The game gave me the tools and said, here, see what you can come up with, and through experimentation, I managed to pull off something that to me felt very clever and satisfying. So once I lowered the bridge, I got the hell out of Fort Joy and began embarking on a new adventure to explore the rest of the island and find my way off of it. Now, I did eventually go back to Fort Joy once I was higher level and just slaughtered all the Magisters there because fuck those guys, and also mainly because I wanted to get experience points, but still, in that moment where I lower that bridge, where I found my way to teleport there to that cliff that seemed out of range or whatever, in that moment where I found a way to circumvent all these conflicts and circumstances and obstacles, I felt like I had forged my own path and chosen my own destiny, as pretentious as that sounds, and it's a feeling that to me is rare in gaming nowadays. Which brings me to my second story, which is a little simpler, and it revolves around a combat scenario that I stumbled upon after my bizarre escape from Fort Joy. Unfortunately, that save file was overwritten, so I couldn't record footage to try and replicate what happened, but it's fine, it's a fairly simple situation. So at one point, I stumbled upon an entrance to some kind of dungeon or sewer system, and I quickly discovered that this was another way to escape Fort Joy, and where I would have ended up if I had explored Fort Joy's prison and dungeon. What basically happened was that I stumbled upon point C without having gone through point A and B due to my unconventional method of escape. So as soon as I entered the exit of this dungeon, I was greeted by this sorcerer torturer working for the Divine Order known as Niles the Flenser. After a brief conversation, Niles decided that instead of talking things out, he would take pleasure in killing and torturing me, so just like that, the battle began. It was my party of 4 versus Niles, 3 meat golems locked in cages that they were quickly breaking out of, and a handful of silent monks. Now at this point, I was underleveled because I had circumnavigated so much of Fort Joy's quests and encounters, so I had a tough time with this battle. I managed to focus kill Niles very quickly, but then meat golems eventually broke out, and then the silent monks started to flank me, and I was beginning to have a lot of trouble, and the battle eventually culminated in all 3 of my companions just dying, and I was the only one left. Fane, my undead character, was the only one standing. I had dealt some decent damage to all enemies, but now that it was only just one party member remaining, it was a hopeless situation that I was getting ready to give up on. But having been engaged in this battle for about an hour now, I persevered for a little bit longer. Then I realized something that I had completely forgotten about in my travels, and that's that as an undead, my character Fane has the ability to play dead. So I thought to myself, with the rest of my party actually being dead, if I play dead, will this fool my enemies into thinking that my whole party is dead? Will this end the combat encounter? Will this result in my enemies backing off? Seemed like a long shot, but seeing as I had nothing to lose, I activated the ability, and lo and behold, the encounter ended as the flesh golems and silent monks returned to their original posts while I lay there playing dead. Now, the play dead ability only lasts a couple seconds, which meant I only had a short amount of time before the battle would start again, so using this opportunity, I had Fane use this revival scroll to revive one of my party members, at which point the enemy spotted me again and the encounter restarted, but by then, most of the enemies had returned to their original post, so they were super far away, and they were far enough that it would take them a few turns to come all the way back into the fray. And anyone who did manage to get close, I would use the teleportation skill that I got from the teleportation gloves to sort of teleport them as far away as I could and then have to run back, and that got me more time that I could use to recuperate. And just like that, using this opportunity, I managed to revive and heal my whole party, and by the time the enemies were in range to attack, we were all back in full health with all of our abilities restored. At that point, it wasn't very difficult to finish off the remaining enemies and reign victorious. It was insane. What I thought would be a waste of an hour and a hopeless battle turned into this, what felt to me like the comeback of the century that resulted from a spontaneous idea. Again, I don't know if these stories are as fascinating to you as they are to me, because I know some of you may have even crazier stories and clever moments to share. But you know, everyone makes their own memories of the games that they play, and to me, these two moments solidified my love for this game. It was then that I knew that Larian Games had crafted something truly, truly special. The synergy that the game's various systems have is just unreal, and what I've conveyed in this video only scratches the surface of the kind of shit you can pull off. And this isn't by some freak accident. The game was built around wholeheartedly encouraging players to take advantage of their systems and the effects of the powers, to think outside the box, and the game was also built around rewarding creative uses of the game's various mechanics. It's games like Divinity Original Sin 2 that allow me to forget all of the recent bullshit surrounding AAA titles' greedy practices, and it's what allowed me to remind myself why I fell in love with games. Divinity Original Sin 2 is just divinely pure in what it accomplishes. It's all about empowering the players, not exploiting them. I could honestly sit here and talk all day about why this game is so incredible on both an artistic and technical level, but for now, I leave you with these two unforgettable memories I had with the game, and I'm sure many are more to follow as I continue to dive deeper and deeper into Larian Games' masterpiece. This game is quickly becoming one of my favorites of all time, and it's a refreshing beacon of hope amidst what's lately felt like a decaying landscape for AAA titles. Now, I'm not sure if you can actually call Divinity Original Sin 2 a AAA technically in terms of the budget and all that, but it feels like one, but again, with none of the bullshit. And it's, thank you Larian Games for showing us what gaming is truly all about. Now, if you've played this game and you have any awesome memories, stories, moments, whatever that you want to share, by all means, please let us know in the comments below. Also, if you enjoy my content, consider supporting me on Patreon to participate in Q&As, to chat with me on Discord, get your name in my videos, play games with me, and much more. All contributions will go towards helping our community remain 100% independent. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out!